Hey guys, welcome to Module 2 for Italian 2. Today we're going to continue our grammar overview. This should be some review from last year and maybe a little bit of new information. And again, it may be really overwhelming because it is a lot all at once, but we're going to give you the overview and give you the landmarks to the grammar, and then we'll review them later in the year. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is bello. Bello mirrors the. Okay, so if you remember the forms of the that we reviewed in the last module, this is going to look fairly familiar. All right, so in the first box we have all the masculine forms. Un bel goes before consonants, like un bel ragazzo. Un bello goes before z and st, like un bello zio or un bello stadio. Okay? Un bel with an apostrophe goes before vowels, like un bel amico. On the feminine side, una bella and una belle are your only two forms, okay? So the first one, una bella, goes before consonants, st start words, z start words, pretty much all words, okay? Like una ragazza, una bella zia, una bella strega, okay? The only thing that una bella does not go in front of is vowel start words, okay? So una belle goes before vowels, like una bella amica. Next up, let's talk about adverbs. Adverbs modify verbs and other adverbs, okay? So in Italian, you have what's called the mente rule, okay? So basically, you take the feminine form of an adjective and then add mente. So let's take the word vero, true. Let's turn it into the feminine form, vera, and then add mente, veramente, which means truly. For words like gentile, adjectives like gentile that end in e, just drop the e, okay? Gentilmente. So here are some adverbs that you can memorize this week. Già, already, ancora, still, sempre, always, veramente, truly, fortunatamente, fortunately, dolcemente, sweetly, regolarmente, regularly, molto, very, poco, not very, troppo, too. All right, next up, let's conjugate a verb, essere, our favorite, to be. All right, you might remember from last year that the verb to be in English doesn't really sound like itself, okay? We don't conjugate it like I be, you be, he be, she be, we be, okay? All of the conjugations sound different than be. They say I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, y'all are, they are, okay? The same is true in Italian. The conjugation doesn't really sound like essere, okay? So here it is. Io sono, tu sei, lui, lei è, noi siamo, voi siete, loro sono. All right, so in each of these, I put the pronoun, the subject pronoun in parentheses because it's understood. You may remember from last year that you don't actually have to say the subject pronoun. You can if you want, but it sounds like you're emphasizing the pronoun. Instead of saying I am, you would say I am. You know, there's a little bit of stress and emphasis there. Most of the time, Italians do not add the pronoun. It's just understood. Next up, let's do prepositions. All right, so these are pretty easy. They're just kind of like a one-for-one thing. So here they are. A means at or to. Da is from. Di, of. In is into. Su, on or over. Con, with. Fra, tra, between or among. And per is for. All right, so I know I'm moving fast. If you need to pause and write these down in your lecture notes, go ahead. Next up, we have the forms of questo and quello. Questo means this, and quello means that. And they are going to agree with whatever they come into contact with. All right, so let's take the simplest form first. If you just want to say this or that, like, which one do you want? Oh, this one. Or, you know, which one is it? That one, okay? you're just going to use these four forms. These are pretty easy. Questo, questi, questa, queste, quello, quelli, quella, quelle. All right, and you remember from last year that these are masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural, okay? All of those four for each of the words. But if you come into contact with a word that follows questo or quello, they have to have agreement with that word, okay? Now, I know this is a lot of examples here, but for the most part, Italian has really similar patterns across the board, okay? So you can see that quello follows bello, right? And then questo makes a lot of sense, right? We see questo and questa before st start words, like questo studente and questa studentessa. We see an apostrophe before vowels, like quest'esame or quest'aula. And then we see plurals where we have plural nouns. Questi studenti, queste studentesse, questi esami, and queste aule. Okay? And then the same is true for quello. It's just like bello, but all the rules feel the same, right? So, quel ragazzo, quella chiesa, quello zaino, quell'università, quell'albergo, quelle chiese, quei ragazzi, quelle università, quegli zaini, quegli alberghi. Okay? And the rules for those on the left-hand side, for the masculine form, are that quel goes for consonants, quello is for Z and ST start words, quel apostrophe is for vowels, and then you have your plurals. Quegli, with GLI, goes in front of Z start, ST start, and vowels. Okay? So study these and memorize them this week. And we will get into more practice and review later in the year. In fact, we're going to review the whole grammar all year long. So if you don't quite have it or it's not quite reflexive now, don't worry. We're going to go back over it. All right, next up, let's review the numbers. Okay, and in your sheet, you should have 0 through 20 with blanks and then all of the tens. Okay, and the reason that I did that is that 0 through 20 are somewhat unique, but then after that, if you have the tens, all of the rest of the numbers to 100 follow a pattern, okay? So let's just count from 1 to 20 first. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, now let's do the tens. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. All right, now just give yourself a little revision. Let's go through 20 to 30. And we're going to see the pattern. So basically you put 20 and then you say the numbers 1 through 9, okay? The only part that has a little bit of an exception is that on 1, 21, the I goes away, okay? Just to make it kind of pretty and flowing, okay? All right, so we'll go from 20 to 30. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh, I forgot to tell you on 28 as well. The I goes away. Okay? So memorize these, mostly memorize the pattern, and then you'll have it. Okay? Next up, let's do some colors. Okay? And we'll go through them. We've got white, yellow, orange, pink, red, light blue, dark blue, green, brown, gray, and black. And we'll say both the masculine and the feminine form when we have one. Bianco, bianca, giallo, gialla, arancione, rosa, rosso, rossa, azzurro, azzurra, blu, verde, marrone, grigio, grigia, nero, nera. All right, next up, let's review time. Okay, so if you remember, Italians use the 24-hour clock. Okay, so this is just something to get used to. We call it military time. Everything in Italy is in the 24-hour time. Train schedules, movie ticket or movie times, everything. So you want to get used to it, okay? So the two ways that you ask what time it is are che ore sono and che ora è. And those literally translate into which or what hours are they, or what hour is it. So when Italians answer back, they're saying there are this many of those hours, okay? So let's do one potential response. Sono le tre. That's for 3 o'clock, right? There are 3 hours. Sono le tre. If you want to add some minutes, you just say and, e. Sono le tre e 20. It's 3:20. All right, you can also potentially do subtraction, which this sounds complicated, but we do it too. We'll say it's we'll say it's 4:15. And what we're doing is we're not saying it's 3:45, we're saying the next hour up and how many minutes it is to get to that hour. In Italian, they do the same thing, but they say it's 4:15 or 4:20, okay? So here's an example of a subtraction. Sono le 4 meno 20. It's 4 minus 20, okay? All right, one thing you may potentially want to do, especially if you've forgotten which hours it is on the 24-hour clock, is say, after you say the time, say in the morning, or in the afternoon, or in the evening, just to clarify yourself. Okay, so here are those distinctions. Di mattina, del pomeriggio, di sera. All right, next up we have 3 special times: noon, midnight, and 1 o'clock. Noon is e mezzogiorno. Midnight is e mezzanotte. And its 1 is e luna. And the reason we have 1 o'clock is a little bit different is that there's only one of those hours. Remember I said they're asking literally which hours are there? So if there's only one, we can't say sono, we have to say e. Right below that, we have a couple of extra things to add, which are un quarto and mezzo. Un quarto means a quarter, and mezzo means half. Okay, so if you say sono le 3 e un quarto, it's 3:15. Okay, 3 1/4. Sono le 3 e mezzo means it's 3:30, 3 1/2. Okay. Next up is a big topic: direct and indirect object pronouns. And we're going to do a lot of work on this later in the year because it takes a little bit of practice to really implement this in your spoken Italian. Okay, so for now, let's review what it is because a lot of people don't know it in English. So direct object pronouns are pronouns that take the action of the verb. So if we say Matt rakes the leaves, leaves is the direct object, okay? Because rake is acting directly on them. Now, if we wanted to replace leaves, we would replace them with them. Matt rakes them. Them is a pronoun, and it's replacing the direct object, so it is a direct object pronoun. Okay? Now in the right-hand column, indirect object pronouns are pronouns that replace indirect objects, obviously. If we say Matt gives the book to Julia, Julia is the indirect object pronoun because we have to chug through a preposition to get to her, okay? He's giving the book, that's the direct object. He gives it to Julia, that she's indirect. So if we replace that with a pronoun, we would say her. Matt gives the book to her. Her is the indirect object pronoun, okay? All right, so on the left, we have all the direct object pronouns. Mi, ti, la, lo, la, ci, vi, li, le, li, le. Okay? Me, you, him, her, us, y'all. You, plural formal. masculine, you plural form feminine, them masculine, and them feminine. On the right, we have the indirect object pronouns, which are mi, ti, le, gli, le, ci, vi, loro, gli. Now what I'm going to ask you to do this week is to memorize these. And this is a sort of like pre-step that's giving you some ammunition for later. Okay, so for right now, you're going to memorize them in rote. And then later in the year, we're going to really help these become reflexive for you. Okay, so just as a practice example, so you can see where we're going to go later, let's do one example in Italian. All right, so on the left, under direct object pronouns, there's a sentence with an arrow. Okay, do il libro. I give the book. Do means I give, okay? If we want to replace il libro, we see that it is masculine and singular, and so we pick the masculine singular pronoun off the list, okay? What we really want to say is I give it. So which it should we pick? Lo or la? It's lo because it's masculine, okay? What we do is we put the direct object pronoun in front of the verb. Lo, do. Lo replaces il libro. Okay, so that's one example of direct object pronouns. On the right-hand side, we have an example of indirect object pronouns. Okay, let's do that sentence with the arrow. Do il libro a lei. I give the book to her. Okay, if we want to replace her with an indirect object pronoun, and I know that may seem confusing because it may seem like there's already an indirect object pronoun, and you're right, her is an indirect object pronoun, but we're going to put it into the sentence the way Italians do. They're very efficient in this way. All right, so we're going to pick le, L-E, okay, and we're going to put it in front of the verb. Le do il libro. I give it to her. Or sorry, I give the book to her. Le do il libro. Next, we'll do interrogatives, which is just a fancy name for questions. Okay, and here are all of our questions. Okay, so let's read these through. Che cosa? Che? Cosa? Chi? Come? Dove? Perché? Quando? Quale? Quali? Quanto? Quanta? Quanti? Quante? All right, guys, so that is it for Italian. Oops, should be Italian 2, Module 2. It is a pretty short module, but jam-packed. So a lot of memorizing to do this week, a lot of revision, a lot of review. But again, we're just giving you the overview so that later in the year, you've got a lot of ammunition in your grammar house. All right, see you on the next module.